Hello everybody and welcome for today's video of DIY investing. It's going to be a little late by the time I end up posting this update, but I wanted to quickly go over an awesome fractal that I've been seeing play out inside of Ethereum. This fractal was recently brought to my attention a couple months back by my friend Dallin Anderson at High Altitude Investing, so make sure you go follow him. This was a fractal that once he showed it to me, I realized that there still has a lot of potential left inside of crypto, still waiting to come. I think that we're all set to make a lot of money moving forward. And so today we're going to be diving in and I'm going to be sharing with you guys a new fractal based off of Ethereum that has direct correlations to Bitcoin's first market cycle, in which we saw it go from $2 all the way up to $1,200. If you're new and just finding this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more awesome updates like the one provided for you here. We also have an amazing Discord community that I would love to have you guys a part of if you're just new getting into cryptocurrency or if you've even followed me for a while. A lot of new people have been joining this recently, and so I'm trying to grow this community as fast as possible. It really is awesome to have a lot of people congregating and asking questions that relate to cryptocurrency to help us all grow and achieve more out of these markets. I also offer signals inside of the Discord, so if you're somebody that's looking for signals, this is a great place to find those. There's currently over 200 members and growing very quickly, so do yourself a favor and click the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're going to get access to my Discord server. Alright guys, let's jump right into this awesome fractal that I want to share with you today. Alright guys, so here we are. Now before we jump into this fractal, let's first take a look at Bitcoin and do some real quick technical analysis here, because it's been about a week since I've last updated you. I've been gone in Denver and I've also been helping my mother move out of her house, so it's been a little bit chaotic for me. But here we are. Not much has really changed since my last update. Really, we were just first breaking out of this descending resistance, and from there we've just kind of consolidated in this little triangle formation. Now this triangle, I'm not really putting a whole lot of faith into it, but what I really wanted to point out to you guys is what I'm seeing thus far, just based off of price action, is we have 3 consecutive lower highs. Now, I'm no genius, but I remember the last time that we had this same setup play out inside of Bitcoin was back here, and we basically had the same sort of setup where we had 3 consecutive lower highs, actually 4, before we finally sold off. And so I think that we could be at the last little bounce before we could sell through the support floor. But I have been wrong in the past, and a sizable breakout like we saw here very easily could have continuation. But from my personal trading perspective, I already accumulated my bids at 9,100, 8,350, and 7,600. And so right now I'm not really trading anything. I'm waiting for Bitcoin to kind of just prove itself. But based off of price action and kind of my own personal opinion, it appears that we have 3 lower highs. We've been consolidating on this horizontal support range. That to me looks like a more bearish setup, and so I would be expecting us to drop back down and retest anywhere from about 86.38 upwards of about 8,800. Somewhere right around there I think would be nice for a little bounce back on the downside, retest support before going higher. But remember guys, that's not guaranteed, and we could very easily break up and out of this. We're just going to watch and see really what the market gives us. But as of right now, you guys know my strategy. I'm more of a long-term investor. I can trade price action, but really I'm waiting for market conditions to be a little bit better for that. So what we're watching now and currently what we're going to be updating on with Bitcoin is just this range and how we're going to break out of this consolidation. Alright guys, now let's actually dive into the biggest category part of this video. Let's dive into the fractal that I've been noticing inside of Ethereum that has direct correlations to one of the first Bitcoin cycles ever, the most impulsive Bitcoin cycle where the most money was made. This was a pattern and a fractal that was brought to my attention by my buddy Dallin Anderson, so make sure you go give him a follow. I'll leave a link in the description of this video. Alright guys, let's jump right into this. So here we are. I've already gone through and labeled my TA just to make this video a little bit simpler and easier to explain to you guys. Now this, guys, if you do not know, this is the all-time graph of Bitcoin, and this allows us to take a look at some of the early day market cycles that happened back when we weren't necessarily around to trade or invest in Bitcoin. Now this cycle goes from clear back in the first days of exchange trading with Bitcoin about 2010. And our first cycle tops at about $32. So at the bottom of this, I can't really show it to you right here, but it started from 5 cents as our low, and it went all the way back up to $32. And so that was our first market cycle. Now, what followed in this market cycle was a very strong retrace back down. And that retrace from all-time high to the low that we experienced was about 93%, almost 94% correction from the top down to the bottom. Now, this being such a massive bubble and shakeout, this showed that there was still a lot of emotion inside of this market, and that's really why we saw such parabolic moves. And really, that's kind of the given inside of cryptocurrency in general, and this is kind of what we expect to see. Now, I really like this market cycle, and my biggest reason for talking about it today is the fact that what happened shortly after this consolidation was the biggest expansion that we have seen inside of Bitcoin. Really the most parabolic move that I would say that we saw, where prices went extremely parabolic. In fact, we bottomed at about $2 and we went all the way upwards of about $1,200, just under $1,200 at its peak. And so I think that this market cycle has direct correlations to what we're seeing and experiencing right now inside of Ethereum. Now, let's actually dive into Ethereum's chart here, and we're going to see the same correlations. Now, what we saw inside of Ethereum was roughly the same sort of human emotions as the last cycle. Now, I went through and only labeled a few. These are the most important ones, in my opinion, based off of just kind of the emotional psychology of the market, the ones that I want to show you now. Now, this would have been our first experience after we had our major breakout and rally inside of Ethereum. This was where everybody got hopeful. Then we went for one more big impulse, and this is where thrill starts to kick in. Everybody gets extremely excited, and then that leads us to our final and last impulse, which leads to euphoria. Now, this is the top of the market where everybody's the most excited about buying. This is where all of the fun money is making money. Everybody's making profits. They think that they think that the market can never stop going up, and then that's really what starts the new paradigm, and then we start the retrace back down. Now, based off of the last cycle that we saw inside of Bitcoin, from all-time high to the bottom of accumulation, we saw roughly a 94% correction. And inside of Ethereum, we saw the exact same sizable retrace back down, 94%. Now, this is what's to be expected in a very emotional market. Now, cryptocurrency, guys, is a speculative market 100%. Really, the only money that's been in cryptocurrency up to this point has just been fun money. A lot of drug dealers, a lot of different people using it in different ways, and a lot of different, like, even just computer nerds in general, just people that were able to kind of catch on to that trend early on. And so these cryptocurrencies are still very much underdeveloped, and in underdeveloped technologies, you're going to see very emotional market cycles. And this is really the most emotional market cycle that we've seen in the history of the world, is really Bitcoin and these cryptocurrencies. I mean, never have we really seen these sort of parabolic moves. I mean, we did see kind of a little bit of a early correlation of that with the internet bubble, but it was not to the degree of these cryptocurrencies. And so with these cryptocurrencies, you're going to see big swings. Now, from top to bottom, Ethereum over 1000x. I think it was like 250x, 250x from the bottom to the top. And so with such an emotional cycle, you're going to have a big crash, which is why I think we experienced a 94% correction back down. Now, this takes us back to our last market cycle inside of Bitcoin, and this was really the first bear market that we ever had. Now, the correction back down is going to be a little bit different, but I want you guys to see the same sort of correlations. Now, really, we have this big retrace back down, and then we get a nice sizable bounce back up. Now, technically, we had our first retrace right here inside of Bitcoin, and then we chopped around support here as what you could explain as maybe a descending triangle before selling through that, right? Now, with Ethereum, we didn't quite have the same sideways consolidation, but we went straight back down. But when we found the bottom of this initial retrace back down, but then we had a pretty sizable bounce back up. And this really is what takes us back to the last Bitcoin cycle. We saw roughly the same correlations. We had our sell-off, we get our buyback, and then this starts really our last and final sell-off before we do find the eventual bottom inside of the market. And it's roughly the same inside of Ethereum. Now, this was the top of our buyback, and then we go into our last sell-off. Now, look at the correlations between the final sell-off, because this is really the most important point of this entire video and why it's so important to share with you guys. Now, after the initial sell-off, we go through a couple different phases in that last leg back down. Now, the only difference between these two cycles is really where the different symmetry happens. Now, after the initial sell-off, we get this bearish continuation that happens. Right here, it took place just initially after the first leg down from the buyback. And in Ethereum, we kind of drop back down to this lower support level. But it's the same sort of consolidation. After the sell-off, we go into a little short-term bearish consolidation before further bearish continuation, and then this goes into our second cycle. Now, the second cycle is roughly the same. We sold through support of the buyback, and now we're kind of consolidating before we have one more sell-off back down. and it's the same. We sold through support here, and then we consolidate for our last and final sell-off back down. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, guys. The final sell-off is obviously the best time to accumulate, but most people don't. It's the most time of fear where everybody thinks that the market's dead and it's going to keep going down. And then that's really what starts the next bull market. When all of the sellers have exhausted, the market's collapsed, everybody's tired of it, and they're just sold all of their positions, that's what starts the next bull cycle back up. And this is the way the cycles work. You have to have a rinse and then repeat. And this is what's going to happen continuously up and down. Now, with Bitcoin not being quite as volatile, these cryptocurrencies, specifically altcoins, these altcoins are going to be following more closely to Bitcoin's early cycles because that shows a time when there was more emotion, there was less production happening inside of Bitcoin, less people used it, and so it was going to be more emotional for that reason. But here we have it, guys. Once we actually entered the bottom of accumulation, the very lowest point of this market cycle, we started our first leg up. Now, if you guys know what this chart is, I reference it a lot, and I think that everybody should have a copy of this saved somewhere on them at all times, because it really is one of the most profound bits of information and tools that I've been able to implement inside of my own trading plan. Now, as you guys know, I like to trade big picture market cycles. I like to ride the majority of the trend before cashing out my profits. And the way that I trade these market cycles is through the emotional psychology that the one experiences when trading and investing. Now, all of the markets are run through human emotions. And that's the amazing thing of why I love cryptocurrency so much. They're such emotional markets. You have all of these people with millions of dollars just throwing money at different projects, hoping and praying that it goes up and makes them filthy rich. And it's a really exciting time. But with that being said, there's going to be a lot of room for error. Now, what we see inside of the emotional psychology of the market is after the big impulse, the big euphoric bull cycle, we have a big crash that ensues. Now, the crash can vary anywhere from 70 upwards of 95% of a retrace. But it really doesn't matter. In earlier market cycles like Ethereum, like the first bubble in Bitcoin, it was more emotional, there was less money, there was less track record inside of these cryptos, and so they have a bigger crash, which is why we've seen a 94% correction in Ethereum. Now, this 94% correction would take us to the bottom of the cycle. This is what's known as depression, and it's also the same area of accumulation, depending on what way you're looking at it. But depression is when everybody's selling their cryptocurrencies or whatever market they're trading. They're exiting everything because it only continues to go lower. They're scared of all of the losses that they've taken, and they just continue to see more red. And so that's really when the shift happens. Now, smart money accumulates in these times, and then that is what starts the first leg up. Now, if you guys can see here, this starts the first leg up, and then we have this disbelief phase. This is a sucker's rally. This is when nobody believes in the project. It's gone down for so long that everybody's scared from it, but that's when you want to be buying. Now, this isn't financial advice. This is just my own personal strategies, and I'm just kind of sharing with you guys what I personally do inside of the market. Now, this is what starts the first little disbelief phase, and if we go back to Ethereum, we're going to see the same thing. Now, at the very bottom of the market, we had our first impulse up, right? Now, after that, we sold back down, and we're kind of just consolidating sideways. Now, as long as this trend and what appears to be the correct emotional psychology that I'm following, as long as this follows and holds support here and we continue to kind of round out, then this cycle has direct correlations with the first bubble that ever happened in Bitcoin. Now, the reason why I'm so excited about this is because if you quickly take a look at what happened inside of Bitcoin and what I showed you at the earlier point of this video, Bitcoin went insane. And it was honestly the most parabolic run that we've seen inside of Bitcoin before that trend kind of changed, and then it was kind of a slow build-up process from there. Now, even though we've experienced multiple bubbles from there, I think that Ethereum itself is still at such an underdeveloped point in its technology. We're still waiting on ETH 2.0 to get developed. There's been so many pushbacks inside of Ethereum, so many delays, and I think that that's really just kind of building this big bomb that's about to go off. Now, once all of these do start getting implemented, I think that that's going to be closer to the top of the market. Remember, guys, buy the rumor, sell the news. You want to be buying when everybody's the most fearful, everybody's waiting for Ethereum's mainnet to release or whatever the hell it is that they're waiting for. I'm really not big into fundamentals. I like to trade these market cycles, and so I'm not really trying to dive into a fundamental perspective, but I'd like to kind of see how it all varies together. Now, based off of what I'm seeing, guys, this cycle is the exact same as early day Bitcoin. And with early day Bitcoin, we are headed for a very impulsive move. I think that we're at our last stages of accumulation inside of Ethereum before we do start impulsing higher. And so for me, guys, I am a buyer in this time. Remember, this is just my own personal strategies. I'm just kind of showing you guys what I'm doing. I'm thinking that right now is the best time to be buying Ethereum that we're going to have before this next bull cycle ensues. Anything under $200 Ethereum is going to be viewed as a major steal 2 years down the line from now. And who knows, guys, I could be totally wrong on all of this and Ethereum could drop and fall off the face of the earth. But I want you guys to understand that if Ethereum falls off the face of the earth, the rest of the altcoin market's going to die along with it. Now, I don't say every single altcoin is going to die, but if Ethereum dies, that's going to be a major hit on altcoins. And I don't think that you guys understand that quite enough, because Ethereum is really the big altcoin that props up a lot of value inside of cryptocurrencies. Many dApps are built upon the Ethereum blockchain, and so if Ethereum went belly up, you know that a huge hit and portion of the market cap would be taken from that. And so I don't really see that happening by any means. I'm actually very confident in the next cycle moving forward. I think these cryptocurrencies are set for a very impulsive move, and it's really an honor to be able to trade this with you guys. I'm honestly thankful to have you guys a part of this, to see these market cycles playing out kind of how I've always thought they would. It really does make me happy. Now, I've been wrong so many different times. But with all that being said, guys, this is really all I had to talk to you about. I wanted to show you this market cycle. Shout out to Alan Anderson for mentioning it to me. Make sure you give a follow. I'll leave a link in the description of this video. This was something I wanted to get off my chest because I think that this is setting up for a very fine opportunity to make a significant amount of money. In fact, life-changing money. That's why I wanted to make this channel, was to share with you guys, personal strategies that I found that have worked inside of my own trading plan, and be able to kind of just give that to everybody else. Because at the end of the day, this is an upcoming thriving market, and the people that are getting involved with it now are going to be set to make life-changing amounts of money, create wealth for themselves, and most importantly, kind of my own personal motto, create financial freedom. And that's my biggest thing, and what I wanted of this channel was just to be able to help inspire other people to create that financial freedom for themselves, because that's exactly what we all deserve. Now, this is the video I had for you. I hope you guys liked it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave a like, comment, or hell, even join the Discord server. Over 200 members in there. It's an honor to have you guys a part of the team, and I look forward to everything that's coming inside of crypto. With all that being said, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace out.